Hippie, home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters.
Pete and the vegetable soup. There was once a boy whose name was Pete. Pete was just an ordinary sort of boy, and like all children, he loved to eat candy and play ball. Pete also liked to turn himself into all kinds of things. He liked to turn himself into a horse, into an airplane, into a kite, and even into a telephone. One day, Pete's grandmother wanted to make some soup, but there were no vegetables in the house. So Grandma said, "Pete, please go down to the store and buy some vegetables for the soup." Beep, beep, Pete honked. At exactly that moment, he had turned himself into a bus. How can a bus buy vegetables for soup? What will they think in the store if I walk in and go beep, beep with my horn? They'll get an awful fright. It would be scary to see a bus in a store, agreed Grandma. So she went to the store herself and bought vegetables for soup. When she got back home, she washed the vegetables, cut them into little pieces, and put everything into a pot. Pete went on playing. "Pete, please take the margarine out of the refrigerator," asked Grandma. "Meow, meow," purred, purred Pete. At exactly that moment, he had turned into a greedy cat. How can a greedy cat take margarine out of the refrigerator? He'll gobble up everything inside. That will be terrible. That would be terrible, agreed Grandma. So she walked over to the refrigerator and took out the margarine herself. She added the margarine to the vegetables and she also put in some salt. Finally, she added some water, mixed everything up together, and put the pot on the stove. And Pete went on playing. Grandma tasted the soup while it was cooking and decided to add some rice to make it even tastier. "Pete, please give me the jar of rice." "It's in the closet," said Grandma. "Tweet, tweet," chirped Pete. At exactly that moment, he had turned himself into a little bird. "How can a little bird give you rice?" asked Pete. "On the way from the closet to you, it will peck at all the grains of rice, and there won't be any rice left for the soup. That would really be terrible." "Perhaps I really shouldn't ask a bird to do me a favor like that," said Grandma. So she went over to the closet and took out the jar of rice herself. She washed the rice, dried it, fried it in a frying pan on a high flame, and then added some water. Meanwhile, the soup in the pot was bubbling away on a low flame. When the rice was ready, the soup was ready too. Grandma turned off the high flame and low flame and sat down to read the newspaper and relax. The aroma of good soup spread through the whole house. Pete stopped playing and walked over to his grandmother. "Grandma, guess what I've turned into now?" asked Pete. His grandmother didn't answer. "Now I'm a hungry boy." "May I have some soup?" asked Pete. His grandmother continued reading the newspaper and did not say a word. "Grandma, what's the matter? Why aren't you answering me?" Pete was beginning to worry. "I can't answer because I've turned into a giraffe," said Grandma at last. "How can a giraffe talk and how can it serve soup?" Pete thought for a moment and then he began to toot. Toot, toot. At first he made a quiet toot, and then it got louder and louder until the toot turned into a train's whistle. Then Pete said, "Grandma, would you like me to ride over to the sink so I can wash up the dirty dishes?" Pete's grandmother smiled. "Yes, that would be nice," she said. "But first, eat some vegetable soup with rice so you'll be big and strong for your work." Grandma gave Pete a bowl of soup, and Pete ate it all up. And he didn't leave a single drop.
Visit us on Facebook, Hippie USA, Houston County.